My fingernails grow on my fingers, and my fingers are fixed firmly to my hand.
That was a bit scary, wasn't it? I thought I was in BioShock for a second. Hello, everybody. We're going to do a show tonight about Aleister Crowley. It's going to be good. Hopefully, I'm going to learn some stuff because I tried to do some research on it and I got dead confused. As usual, go buy merch. We need to sell more merch because we are money hungry and that's the only reason we do it. If you want to help the channel, become a member. If you don't want to become a member, do a super chat, even if you don't want to make a comment, because super chats help the channel. Without further ado, Oliver, Dave, Stuart, and Hidden Underbelly, how are you all doing, gentlemen?
Hell yeah.
It's going to be a beast of a show.
All
good.
How when did you think about saying that, Ollie? And what time was it this afternoon?
He thought about
how
it
excited
yesterday.
have you been to do it?
I thought about it all week.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, sorry about the chilling intro, Lee. I
really liked it.
I loved it, man.
Ended on a happy note.
I was here headbanging.
That was it. I am really pleased with this Mac Mini. That was a 15-minute job.
Was it? Mac Mini's
She
race.
said.
But yeah, I'm not really sure how to go into this episode.
Neither am
I.
What a mind. Just like I have been listening all week to Crowley stuff, and I am still none the wiser. There's so many people with different stories on him, so many lies out there, like truths that people state is truth, then somebody else is saying this person is lying. It's a minefield.
The only thing I know is from all of the stuff I watched and listened to, that guy was really into butt stuff.
Yes.
Really, he was at home at that end.
Who isn't?
No comment.
I'm going. I can't wait to go to America, Dave.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you coming here too.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm gonna get buggered then eaten.
Well, my favorite stuff there was the stuff that tied him in with with Jack the Ripper and stuff. And you think, well, is there nothing this guy isn't being tied to?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you guys know about Pauline Pierce, right?
Is that the maid?
No. Pauline Pierce is the mother of Barbara Pierce, who later on became Barbara Bush, who gave birth to George H.W. George W. Bush, who was the husband of George H.W. Bush. Yeah. So Pauline Pierce at that time, back in the day, went over to stay with her friend in Paris, who Aleister Crowley, after getting kicked out of Italy because of the death at the his little commune thing he had going on in Sicily, staying with them, and he was working on the sex magic rituals that would lead up to him contacting Lamb. And Pierce went home a few months later, 9 months later, gave birth to Barbara. Barbara married George H.W. Bush and gave birth to, like, she's very likely the child of Crowley. They even look the same. You look at pictures of them and you're like, ooh, yeah, that's a lot of family resemblance. That's a lot of family resemblance.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking out there, man.
But I mean, he influenced so many people. But I mean, Leah, did you kind of start from the beginning when you were doing the research on Crowley and listen to his childhood and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna have a bit of a fucked up. You're gonna be a bit fucked up as an adult when you have a childhood like that.
Yeah, it wasn't normal, was it? But the funny thing was, I think when wait,
his dad died of tongue cancer.
No,
That's
but
when it all.
I think there's characters throughout like history. I'm probably further back. I mean, like modern history that seem to have the same sort of like grounding points as him. Like I think you can, if you stuck like Crowley, scientific guy that starts Scientology. What's his name? What name? Yeah,
Hubbard.
Hubbard. Charles Manson. I think if you got people like that around a dinner table together, you'd probably find they'd end up having quite a lot in common with each other. And I just wonder whether he was more in the lines of just another one of these sort of cult of personalities. But just the way he went around it was so sensationalized. It leads itself to conspiracy theory, and it leads itself to fanciful thinking. If with any cult leader, if he was, that's it. Let's say Charles Manson. Let's say he turned around and started saying that he was being, like, he had his knowledge bestowed on him from like an astral plane or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He would have had the same mythos built around him as well.
They just didn't give him enough acid.
Maybe not.
Yeah, that man took a hell of a lot of drugs.
Mm-hmm. That's what happened to him.
I like to chase the dragon.
Yeah. Well, Manson's different, maybe a different night, but like Crowley took a lot of drugs. Love the drugs. I'm not knocking him for that. Just damn.
A lot of folk don't realize. I mean, Crowley's family are rich. He had money. He came from money. So I mean, that's how he was able to.
His father was not a preacher. Was he a preacher?
I can't remember.
He was highly, very religious. I think he was like a preacher, that type of thing. That's what he did.
He was a minister and like an offshoot of, whatever you want to call it, where they took everything in the Bible literally.
Yeah.
100%, whatever. And his mother used to call him the Beast because he would get in trouble and do things, and he just kind of kept that nickname. And you kind of follow along, and it's like, damn, this guy's. But he was also apparently great at mountaineering and hiking and traveling the world after his parents died and took in all that money.
He got his mother called him the Beast because he was really ill, wasn't he, for quite some time, and his uncle took him on board and then introduced him to. He thought he doesn't have long to live. I'm going to get the lad laid. Took him to some prostitutes, all that jazz. Mm-hmm. Then he came back. He was better. Slept with the maid on his mother's bed. That same maid got killed was apparently Jack the Ripper's first victim.
It's also interesting that how his first child died to his first wife. Like there's a lot missing from that. Like she just kind of withered away. She didn't make it a full year.
Was that in China when she caught some sort of?
I don't think so. I thought they were in Europe. They could have. I know they started out, of course, together after they got married, traveling through Egypt. That's the thing, is the dude definitely took that money and he went out with it. Like he went everywhere. He was all about spirituality and rituals and actual practical magic and contacting other things. Like that's it. And he didn't care how he went about doing it. He would quite literally do anything.
Mm.
Yeah. You got to give the guy dedication for that. But it's interesting, like, so the faith, the system, the magic system, he set up the, what is it? Thermally? I'm going to say it wrong.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it either.
Yeah.
The
it's Greek. It's Greek for like the path.
I think you pronounce it better than I can.
Yeah. And you can, Google away, look it up, and see if you can say it correctly. I know I'm killing it.
Thelema.
Thelema. There it is. Is that how you say it? Thelema?
Thelema.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, yeah, that was awesome. So they founded that and went on that whole path. It's
Stu,
very
do you mind
interesting.
just hitting the mute a second, just while, because there's the tap dancing in the background.
Yeah, the dog's going a bit thing. Hold on.
Yeah. So
Jeez, man.
When they were doing that, like if you look at the people that influenced, like Jack Parsons, who founded JPL and Jet Propulsion Laboratories Foundation for NASA, and all that. He was way into it. Him and his Scarlet Woman of the time. Yeah, Parsons. Him and his Scarlet Woman. What's that?
Parsons still carried on the occult while he was forming NASA.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. He even sent his girlfriend, wife's. He called his women Scarlet Women, just like Crowley did, and he sent her to the headquarters of it in Sicily. When and like the dedication he had to it, and him and L. Ron Hubbard was way into it, and they were practicing rituals. Interesting enough, they practiced rituals in the same place that they built JPL, as well as if you go into the mythos where Area 51 is out on Dry Groom Lake. They were out there doing rituals, like they were looking for a proper space. And it's like, it's crazy. It's very crazy, right?
I mean, there were reports of people having to turn up at Parsons' house because he was doing the sex magic rituals. So he was famous for his orgies. Yeah, and this is the guy behind NASA.
Yeah,
one of the guys.
And a key guy. I mean, he's also the guy behind JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, which is a huge deal. And he was way into this shit. So much so, like him and L. Ron Hubbard were doing a summoning ritual for, I believe, it was like an elemental spirit, and that's when he met his woman, his muse, his Scarlet Woman. And he always believed that the summoning rituals would bring her to him, and she was way into the occult. Then he sent it. Like that whole path, it all comes back to Crowley and the sex magic rituals and rituals he put out. Like the one to Lamb, I didn't even know this. Like that was apparently a 6-month process. It was 6 months. And do you know where it took place?
Egypt.
No, Montauk, New York.
Really?
No way.
Meet Lamb. It was in Montauk, New York.
But that's where he met the alien.
Yes. But he also had another spiritual guide that he met in Egypt, who he believed to be the voice of Horus, and that was like ayahuasca. I don't know.
Ewa.
Thank you. Yeah, and like and that whole thing, how he met that entity with his then wife when they were in Egypt. That story is incredibly fascinating. Like the first thing that they go to Egypt, right? Because he's got his dead parents' money. They set up, and in the hotel room, he builds a ritual, and he starts trying to invoke the old gods. And that's when she goes catatonic, whatever, and starts speaking in a different voice that, they're there to wait you. And she snaps out of it, leads him to a museum to these particular tablets. And the marker numbers, the identification number on the Egyptian tablets, which was the tablets of Horus, was 666. Yeah. So the beast found the beast. And
could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You know Horus, because now you said something to me that's kind of like, isn't Horus now, am I sure he's a Greek god? Egyptian.
Horus was Egyptian.
No, wasn't Horace translate to Thope? Or am I wrong?
I didn't look that part up. I don't keep up with the different.
It wouldn't surprise me because you find lots of these gods like transcend, don't they? The cultures that they were originally started off in,
copied and pasted. Yeah,
there's a good chunk of the first half, the older part of the Bible, that is basically based on Horus. I know that. Also pronounced as Hero and Hor in ancient Egyptian.
So that's how he met his first spirit guide, who told him he was a former prophet or whatever from Egypt, and that's what he believed for a while, and just kind of used that as a guide to continue to study ritual magic. And it's also the thing that led him to eventually performing the ritual, and it was a 6-month ritual of fasting and sex and drugs and probably sacrifice, like the guy who died in Italy that the tabloids picked up on and kind of ran with, and that's when he got kicked out of Italy, and his whole little cult got kicked out.
That nobody still lives in that house in Italy. It's just like a fucking junkie. Den. Nobody has bought it.
All the houses I think he's been associated with have come to rack and ruin in some way, shape, or form.
Except for the castle at Loch Ness.
Well, that's Boleskine House. That's only now just getting restored. It was caught up in a fire in 2015, I think it was.
I think Jimmy Page own that?
Yeah,
that's right. No, that's very correct.
And he said it was haunted as shit.
Yeah,
but he wanted that house though.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, he paid over the odds for that house back in the day. So I did, but I mean, I went up to it. It's on the east side of Loch Ness, and if you go, it's about 5-6 minutes away from the Loch Ness campgrounds. And at one point, you could literally wander around it and stuff, and nobody was in it. But I mean, he bought it, I think, just at the turn of the century. Just looking at my notes here. But I mean, that's where he did a big chunk of his sex magic and his rituals and stuff was in Boleskine House. But it's a weird place, so it is. It's very kind of long and skinny. It's not like sort of castles in Scotland that are normally, massive walls and stuff.
Do you find it's so interesting though that all these celebrities just latched on to Crowley? You've got Crowley's face on one of the Beatles albums, just right in the background. David Bowie absolutely loved him. I mean,
David Bowie supposedly conjured a physical demon in his swimming pool, didn't he, with Crowley?
That is the rumor.
Yeah.
Of Crowley.
No, with
Crowley would.
With him, I believe.
Was Crowley not dead in 1945 though?
Not
surely.
Sure. Oh no. Oh, maybe. Do you know what? Maybe I'm getting mixed up with the day. Then am I?
Yeah. I thought it was of Crowley.
I think it was of Crowley.
Yeah. Oh, was it? Right. That was maybe
yeah.
I'm getting confused.
Because there was the psychologist and countercultural dude Timothy Leary, the writer William S. Burroughs, the filmmaker Kenneth Anger, and there was the artist Marjorie Cameron were the ones I sort of found out about. I didn't know. I mean, yeah, but as well as that, Jimmy Page, Bowie, and all that kind of stuff. There's loads of folk have been influenced by him, and certain, shall we say, sex offenders that used to work for the BBC and give out medals was very much into him as well, but we won't mention his name.
Marjorie Cameron was, or Cameron, or just who she just went by Cameron. She was Jack Parsons' summoned elemental.
Right.
Yeah, they were. She was incredibly plugged into the West Coast of Hollywood and all that jazz. Like her just moving around California, and the people, the circles she, 'cause I looked into her for a while. The circles she traveled in were the who's who. You know what I mean? Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Some of the people, like, you're a poet and an artist, and all right, kind of. What are you doing hanging out with all these people?
But that's it. But how many times do we see that with the like with celebrities, especially in that era, and like some like pretty unsavory characters? You know, it was, I can't remember which Beach Boy it was, which Charles Manson moved in with, to the point where his management team had to knock on his door and go, look, like you've got to stop this. This is not a good look.
Could have gone an entirely different way for the Beach Boys.
I think they were into Crowley as well, weren't they?
Good
I wouldn't be
vibrations.
surprised. Some kind of vibration.
Was the whole, you know, the society that the like ex-presidents like Bush and Reagan and that were the Bohemian Grove,
Yes.
the one that Alex thingy, that was all Crowley-based stuff as well.
Yes.
Some of the
the effigy and ritual
rituals
was.
Yeah.
To Moloch too as well. In fact, they follow part of his laid out rituals that he expands in, like the law, and he's got several books.
Do
But,
what I will.
Yeah, I mean, but he has specific, like, this is how you conduct a ritual from studying, and give the guy that. I mean, he dedicated and he studied around the world these different, you know, if there was an organization, he joined it. Like he went all in. So I mean, I get that to an extent. It's the more like I looked into him, the more I was just like, what's real and what's not. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you told me
story.
You said something that I always thought, because I thought he met Law in Egypt.
No, he met. So that's documented pretty well when he met Lamb.
Lamb, sorry.
Lamb. Yeah, I'm not offended by it. When he met Lamb, it was like that's when I found out, like, it was in Montauk. You gotta be kidding me, right?
That's pretty crazy.
That's so strange.
And the Indians of that area, the Montauk area, they have a thunder god that they worship, and they have a mask. You can Google it and look it up, and they break it out. You know what it looks like? Lamb.
Really?
Yes. It's very freaky. Yeah.
The Montauk Project is one of my favorite things.
I looked up the Horus and Thor relationship, and it says that Thorpe is the son of Horus.
Right.
In that mythology. Just wanted to put it out.
Is Horus not the son of, is it Osiris and Isis? Am I right in saying that?
I didn't look that far now.
I didn't dig into that
Osiris.
mythology.
And then you've got Hathor's the son of Horus. Just looking at it just now, and they all relate back to the god of the sun, Ra.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the show, Lee, for the 99 pence. My lad.
And a bit of the magic, because that's where they reckon the term Amen comes from. Amen Ra.
I've heard that. Yeah.
That's why I said they reckon.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
The thing with Crowley that I think is interesting is you have to take it is either the guy was just had a magnetic personality and was a semi-cult leader and was looking for his own philosophy to do whatever the fuck he wanted and justify it any way he could. Because all reports of like him as a person and that's the thing that gets me is if he's this magnetic person and a cult leader, why does everyone describe him as just such an asshole? You know, he's just caustic. He was bitter. He alienated people that were close to him left and right. Like he was not easy to get on with.
Maybe he just had a low tolerance for stupid people.
Some of the things are like famous of just him freaking out on like his followers, his devoted Now, granted, there's a segment of the population who wants to be beaten and submitted, but they don't usually go to international stardom on that. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird.
I know what you're saying there, Dave, because I must have listened to this week, I would say, 10 shows on Aleister Crowley, podcasts. And there's some of them that are saying that the things that he was being accused of, i.e., children watching while they do the thing they do, is all bullshit. That never happened. And there's some saying, yes, that happened. That guy is sick as fuck.
Oh, I believe it happened.
But how? But yeah, I mean, but there's no how you've got no evidence.
No, I mean, this was a long time ago. We're not coming up with evidence. Yeah,
we've only got what, because let's face it, in a lot of places he was fucking hated.
Yeah.
So back then, you couldn't be a gay man and get away with it. You know, people did not like that.
It was illegal.
Well, he didn't just stick to men.
No, I know. You know, he was greedy.
Men, women, goats, whatever.
But who's to say that some of these people may have then said, "Well, this guy," because he had a lot of money to splash about, and they thought, let's fuck his reputation up. Let's add this to the pot. That's the thing. We don't actually know 100% if he did these things. We're hearing these things from history, but because it's so long ago, there's no photographic evidence. There's very few photographs of him. Very few.
Which is also interesting, because you think, well, he's a narcissistic personality, and there's all these, diagnosis like this. Cool. Where's all the pictures and paintings of him?
And that was the era when people were fucking trigger happy with them cameras. If you were rich, because you would
status symbol. Being photographed was a thing. But like you say about him, like appearing to be an asshole, that's the odd thing about it, because again, like I said just before about the whole cult of personality thing, I got dead interested in Manson for a while, and I know, because I'm can be a right victim of cult of personality. If I'd have been in California, maybe I'd have, when the sort of, should we go and like kill a pregnant person, that would be that might go against my morals. But up until that point, I'd have thought, yeah, this guy's pretty cool. I'll go and live on that ranch for a little bit. That might be okay. But I don't think I would have fell into the Crowley thing, because I'd have probably just thought he seemed like a horrible person.
Yeah.
I think he put out that sort of persona as well to be the beast.
Maybe.
I don't think between his, like, the people that were in his inner circle, I don't think he was as big a dick to them, but just to the population at large, and especially this was at the time when the tabloid press was coming into its own, and they did nothing but write about Crowley and stuff, and I think from that perspective of like the working man who's down the mines, the pit, or in the factories or whatever, they were getting to read about Crowley, and he wanted to kind of keep up that persona to a certain extent. But it is so difficult to find out what's true about him and what's not true about him, because the whole lot just blends together.
Yeah.
I think my one, I know we spoke about this a bit on Friday, didn't we, Ollie? Because we got into like Nazi technology on Friday.
Yeah.
Also, and the being in the middle of a war effort and sending people off to go and try and find the Ark of the Covenant, stuff like that.
But the Thule Society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a little bit off.
Yeah.
A bit of an off thing to do.
Yeah. Now, my thing with this has been, I think you get ideas that sort of worm their way into like subconscious and culture, but very quickly, I think the nonsense gets filtered out. We still keep you see it lots in conspiracy fields where certain conspiracy theories will come up and then they'll sort of drift away, and then we don't talk about them again because there's no real substance to it. And when it comes to like the Crowley and the sex magic and stuff like that, I can't help believe that there must be. You can't have that many people that are that influential that are continually doing these rituals without getting something back for doing it. We just talk about Jack Parsons for a second. I'm sure he had a multitude of other things. And I don't get me wrong, the whole idea of having orgies, fine. Like lots of people, I'm sure, have orgies. I'm sure there are, like, not very far away from where any of us live. I'm sure there's a swinger's house where they're all getting covered in all sorts of fluids. But the thing is that it's not in the if that's all it was, right? Fine, it's just a kink at that point. But when these people are performing these rituals, expecting to get something else back other than just sexual gratification, I don't think that you keep doing these things without something manifesting, without something tangible coming from it. Otherwise, you would just move on. But the whole idea of this type of magic has stayed around for so long. There has to be some sort of validity to it.
Well, they had sex for like days, like
yeah, it's tantric. Yeah,
just anyone, everybody.
days and days
having sex now.
I mean, you're using that word, but I feel like you don't know what it means.
I feel you only know where one of my hands is.
Both hands on the desk now, please.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I would, so I took it to a couple different views this week when I was reading about him and listening and watching what I could find. Like YouTube's pretty censored on him, which I thought was strange. Google's pretty censored on him. I used other search engines and other media hosts. It kind of strikes me in the beginning as someone who's raised in a really strict religious doctrine, and he's curious and he wants to know if there's anything to any of this. And so he kind of goes on that quest and gets obsessed with it. And he's just kind of tearing through everything because he's got the money and time, and he's an intelligent guy. He was a chess master. He attended Oxford.
Oh, he's very smart.
He's a bright guy.
High IQ. If you got taken an IQ test, he was Trinity College at Cambridge and stuff, and you don't get in back then without having the smarts.
Yeah.
Very, very intelligent.
Yeah. So he's not a fool. So
why would a fool bother with all that shit?
And he's pursuing it, and with gusto, with drive, with means, and with time. Right? He dedicated treasure, the time, and reputation to this. He was all in. Okay. And a lot of people, well, he had an undiagnosed mental illness. He did a lot of psychedelics. People see what I mean? Typically when people are doing psychedelics, they really don't have mental illnesses, especially those kind of psychedelics, because they help mental illness. If anything, it would straighten them out for lengths of time. We have all the medical data and research now that shows that's the way. You want to treat a schizophrenic, when they were doing small dose of LSD and or psilocybin, they're totally functional.
He was also a heroin addict as well.
Later on, because
on and off, should I say? He was on and off a heroin addict.
Yeah, he did a lot of coke though as well.
I feel that's
he did.
I feel that's a permanent choice. I don't know many on and off heroin addicts.
They're just waiting. They're just waiting.
I'm going through like a Guinness phase at the moment. I've never been through a heroin phase and then like gone on to something else.
You're still a young man.
Yeah, there's still time.
Yeah, don't write it off early. When you look at like his ritual magic and stuff, he was into psychedelics. He was into hash. Opium wasn't a play till later on. And allegedly, again, we don't know, but from what I read, and I do believe he was prescribed heroin because he had bronchitis. And then after that, he was like, "This is great." And another thing is interesting. So he divorced his first wife because he didn't like that.
Rose Kelly.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did not like that she became an alcoholic, even though they were into their whole sex magic thing and everything. He got rid of her for being an alcoholic because she had lost the discipline to keep control. And then later on, he became a heroin addict, an alcoholic, and just kind of devolved. Maybe he was then, I don't know. But it's an interesting thing. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's definitely interesting, but it looks to me like he started out as someone who wanted answers.
I know it's about Crowley, Lee, but we spoke about Jack Parsons, and didn't Jack make it to about 35 years old, and then a guy who was really talented in knowing his shit when it came to rockets, when it came to chemicals that made those things, blew his own fucking face off.
Allegedly, yeah. Allegedly, that's how he went.
Isn't that a little bit odd?
Well, his death really isn't covered in too much detail. Like, the thing is, you go down the rabbit hole of the occult, and they're like, it's a ritual gone wrong. And you say, well, that's all hogwash. Okay, well, then he blew himself up in his garage. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. He was working on, like, he was also a genius. He was also the genius who was way into the occult and hanging out with L. Ron Hubbard. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, to blow your own, a genius like that, just to, I can't remember what he was invited to do. It was a job that he was asked to do, and because of that, he ended up going into hospital with half his face off.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, I mean, genius people mess up too. Like, if you're familiar with the Demon Core and like nuclear research and the criticalities that happened, they were fully aware.
Is he the guy who set the Demon Core off?
No.
They literally held it open with a screwdriver. The screwdriver slipped, and it started to get like critical mass. He was related to Parsons, I believe.
He was really, yeah, but that wasn't Parsons. That's not how he went.
No, it wasn't Parsons.
Yeah, but yeah, no, they were pals. In fact, most of those scientists, like when you start, like, they're linked to him in weird ways, in ways that you're like, you're hanging out at your, occult sciences club that everyone knows this is where you're going in the desert, and you're bringing in prostitutes and goats. Yeah. It's your Thursday night thing. Yeah. I don't want to ask any more questions. I don't want the answers,
Excuse my ignorance here. What's the Demon Core?
Thank you.
Yeah,
apart from I think it's my Pokemon evolution.
So I was going to ask the same question, Lisa. Yeah.
No, so the Demon Core was a designed nuclear core for detonation. It's the way it contained dense nuclear material and would bounce around on the inside, and as it built up, it would build to critical mass, right? And it'll have a flash of blue light. That is it going a criticality, and that criticality is a fatal dose of. Near where I live, they had a criticality, and that building still exists because you can't really tear it down, and they have everything marked of where you can walk and where you can't walk if you have a security clearance to get back.
And the whole area is just irradiated.
Yeah, the Demon Core was part of the Manhattan Project, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were they took out several people. Like there were several criticalities.
So can we just talk about the fact that they called it a fucking Demon Core?
You want to talk about the fact that Google? Do you know what the operating system that runs Google Chrome is?
Adreno.
Yes.
Adreno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking there's too many things. I don't believe that there can be so many things that call back to. We'll blanket them as general Satanism, shall we? I don't believe there can be so many like red flags for like genuine evil, like real evil.
It's interesting you say that. So, like, again, to Crowley, when Stu, how do you say his first? The
Ayahuasca.
So when he would talk to him over his left shoulder from behind him, and he would tell him never to turn around, not while he was speaking to him. And that's how he in like the books, some of the like the law and things like that, it was dictated to him by him to be put out. Like, it's very interesting. Like, it's interesting. Like, if you're ever familiar with schizophrenics and how they roll, and you listen to how he describes different things, you're like, well, I don't like a schizophrenic. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I have a personal belief. Some people are just a little bit more tuned in, and maybe he was one of them. And maybe he made maybe he made what I would believe to be the wrong choice. And
did you hear about his cat? Did you hear about his cat? His pet cat.
Mm-mm.
He wanted to test out the 9 lives thing. And apparently he did everything from like shut the cat out of a window to burning it.
How many times was he able to do it?
That I don't know. But
I think the
I
answer
figured the
to this,
shotgun to the cat was 1.
yeah,
Apparently, there's no 2.
the answer to this story might be how many cats did he own?
That's a better question.
If it was more than 1, it failed.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that is, so his first maid, I find it really interesting that the maid that he lost his virginity to. No, he didn't lose his virginity to the maid. He just fucked the maid. Okay.
On his mom's bed.
At 15 years old. That maid died, was Jack the Ripper's first victim.
Mary Kelly.
What if fucking Crowley was Jack the Ripper? Now, I also know that, Crowley did claim to have met Jack the Ripper.
I believe that. Yeah. I believe that was probably. Why wouldn't he?
When was the Ripper active again?
It's a great question.
Oh, it was the 18th century going into the 19th. I think. I'm not really into the Ripper, so I could be just butchering that, but
no, I was listening to a podcast this afternoon about where they were talking about the.
So he would have been if it was like 1888. 1888. So he would have been a teenager then.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
By the way, nobody else has accused him of being Jack the Ripper. That's me. Yeah, but he's dead, so he can't fucking sue me.
Yeah, it would be. It's interesting because I mean the whole thing with the Ripper was like surgical precision, wasn't it? You know,
surgical precision.
That's why the
knowledge
people
of anatomy.
The doctor, yeah.
Guy has a massive IQ.
He does, but does that necessarily mean that he has the skills to do that?
No.
Yeah,
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Like, it's all up in the air, isn't it? It's just, I find it weird that his maid.
If he was doing that, he wouldn't stop.
Is this Mary Ann Nichols? Is that her name? Because there's Mary Jane Kelly was the other one.
I think it was Mary Jane Kelly. I think that
was
the maid.
That would have been the 5th victim. She was the last. You get Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and then Mary Jane Kelly.
That's still a strange coincidence. That's a strange linking.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And the fact that he did say that he met Jack the Ripper. I think Jack the Ripper Jack the Ripper apparently gave him some blood-soaking ties.
Well, it was long believed that Jack the Ripper was a member of various cult societies in England.
Yeah, 100%.
Of which he definitely became members of. Like 100%. So if that guy really was trying to produce some kind of ritual, he probably encountered him because he was after it, man. He was after it. You know, Maria Abramovich, a lot of the ritual stuff you see her do in her art, that's Crowley-esque, reinvented of that. I mean, he really did I don't know if that reinvent, but maybe streamlined existing rituals into something to maybe it works.
Maria Abramovich does some really weird shit in her art, so she does.
See, I wouldn't hang out with her. I believe she's the
modern Crowley.
The modern Crowley.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, it must have been such a wild time as well. Like you have, you talk about secret societies and stuff like that, but you're also, I mean, even like medical institutions are paying grave robbers to go and rob graves so they can get cadavers to learn anatomy on. You still have like the snake oil salesman traveling with like giving potions out. The mediumship is at like the parlor trick level mediumship, where they would like get a room full of people together and they would play tricks on the audience to make them think they were speaking to people on the other side. I mean, or maybe they actually were, but I think history shows there was an awful lot of fakery going on in those days. You really are on that. You talk about now we've been, especially like the sort of around our generations, where the generations that move from a relatively non-technological society to now a heavy technologically led society. We bridge those gaps. Back then, you're talking about bridging the gaps between fucking magic and moving into modern science and modern medicine. It must have been a fucking crazy time.
Yes. Yeah, man. It and his pursuit of it, I think, is very fascinating because his pursuit was pretty methodical. Like he's like, I'm going to join this, I'm going to do that. What's the next thing I heard about? What's the great mysteries?
Mm-hmm.
He was after it. I mean, he full on went in after it to spend everything he had chasing it.
Yeah.
Rachel,
when was the pyramids discovered? As in, like, in the modern archaeological sense.
I mean, the people who lived there always knew they were there.
Yeah.
You mean
but in a Western sense, when did we find them? Because before us, it didn't matter.
I mean, when did England show up there? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the Greeks were aware. The Persians were aware. Everybody was aware.
Yeah, but they don't matter. They're not like no. So Mistron's put down there is the 1800s, and you see that sort of thing.
I think we may have been aware of them before that, but with traveling on all that, I don't think many people, because it would have taken a long time with the way that they have done it to get there.
But this was the point I was going to make with that sort of like odd time between science and folklore. Yeah, between science and folklore. Can you imagine coming across that in that era as well? We've got boats. We're starting to travel. We're starting to try and connect the world through trader paths. Then all of a sudden, you find these huge things that are unlike anything that you've done before. It might as well be an alien spaceship. Like they would be the same as us digging something like that up now. We melt Antarctica and find Atlantis.
Sorry, is that true? Were they buried?
Was there sand on them? Yes. Were they buried and no one knew they were there? No. Yeah. They're massive. They're huge. Everybody knew they were there. Yeah. Like the Sphinx, for a long time people just thought it was a head, and they started digging down. Like, oh wow, there's way more to this.
Well, you just think of Cairo. When you look at the Great Pyramid that shadows Cairo, yes. Cairo wouldn't be there if you had to excavate the pyramids.
Most of old Cairo was built when they pillaged the limestone from the pyramids. Yeah, it was white polished limestone that was shiny and perfect, and they just stripped it all off to build a city next to it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is. If you need a house, you're going to use it.
Yeah, just take it. It's here. Why? Because everything else is sand.
It is really hard to see, but you can't see it here because I've put your logo over it, Lee. But in the middle of that, the quality is so bad in the picture, but what it actually is in the middle of his head is the Eye of Horus.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's also been he's also had like the full-on Egyptian headdresses, hasn't he, with the snake on them as well.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna pop Martin's comment up here. Because he said folklore, like I can't say that word, but I know it's alchemy. Or just later rememberings. And I'm not opposed to the idea that we have forgotten things that we used to know as 100% fact. Oddly enough, I think only now, after all this time, I think there's this big push at the moment, isn't there? With for one reason or another, but looking at more holistic medicines again, and the obvious one to look at, which is like maybe not like a dangerous thing that can benefit anyone, is what lion's mane does, to like help like neuron regeneration. Is that right?
Well,
I'm sure we knew that a long time ago before like medicine had to have a barcode and a patent on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like, so just speaking of that, things that we know, like psilocybin with treating PTSD or other mental illnesses, imbalances. Not only that, the increased neuroplasticity and function. Like
is psilocybin off of like mushrooms?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I see.
Yeah. The studies that are done of that are wild, and you have all the pharmaceutical companies rushing to try and patent it. The problem is all their synthetic forms don't really work. Or like ECB 46, it's been extracted from the blushwood tree in Australia, funded by the Australian people, done in an Australian university, purchased by a pharmaceutical company and cancer research. Put out there as a miracle drug. Pharmaceuticals company came in, paid everybody billions that was involved, and now it's gone. And you can't take the blushwood seeds out of Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
insane, man. Insane.
Yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild what's out there.
It's such a double-edged sword, isn't it? I think maybe faith in medicine has probably never been
lower.
So yeah, I was going to say impacted, but yeah, lower. I think it's such a double-edged sword because obviously there are people out there which are not getting treatment for things that they could get treatment for, and it's not going to work out well in the long run. But I think on the positive side of it, it does mean that skepticism is making people look around them for things as well.
Dude, if I went at the face value of what my doctors told me, I would be blind. Literally. That was.
Oh, I remember this from our first interview.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but
neither do I.
If I had the ability to make the screen go black, I'd do it now just to fuck with you.
Yeah, man. So I did my own research and I found someone who I had a disease called keratoconus. It was very degenerative. I'd lost vision in my left eye. I was losing it in my right eye. Found a guy in Austria who built a cure called Meyer-Ring implants. Went to the CISIS Center, went out there, gave him a wad of cash, 90 seconds an eye. My eyes were fixed. And my optometrist and doctors here, like, you could go to California, $60,000 an eye for this procedure, or $30,000 an eye for this procedure, or we have to, do a cornea transplant. That's really all your options. And I was like, I don't want to do any of that. And this other guy did it no time. I was like, yeah, here's my money. And then I walked away, and I could probably stand to have glasses again. I just have enjoyed freedom without them. I mean, it's not perfect vision, but it's good enough that I don't need them. So yeah, like that is that moment that I realized, man, doctors are full of shit. They just know what they've been told, right? Practicing doctors know what they've been told.
But you're walking proof of this guy in Austria that his technique must work. So why
it does work? Yeah.
Have they looked any further into his technique? Have they tried to?
Yeah, no, that's 100%. The thing is, no insurance anywhere will pay for it. It's illegal in the United States and most other countries. You have to go somewhere that allows private hospitals and private treatment. So he treats in Austria, Colombia, I think somewhere in the Middle East. Yeah, it just is what it is. He could have charged me whatever he wanted. I would have paid. I didn't.
That happened with stem cells as well, didn't it? Like stem cell treatment. That had to be that was done in like Colombia and stuff like that first before.
They did it at the hospital I was at.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's interesting, but yeah, that
was when you had the encounter with the young lady.
Well, I mean, within a couple weeks, yeah. But I was in the hospital for a few days.
Was she a scarlet lady?
No, not to me. Not to me.
She was afterwards, man.
No.
She's scared to live in shower, Dave's mate.
Yeah, I mean, yes. We ran, me and a friend of mine, we ran into a woman in a small town in the Alps. I talked to her, asked her for directions, had a conversation. We were both kind of weren't kind of. We were awestruck to the point of not being like literally rendered speechless. I mean, once, she was absolutely gorgeous. But it was like when I stared at her eyes, they were super bright blue, and she was blonde and just kind of bubbly, and she spoke great. Her English was phenomenal. And she just kind of kept laughing and giggling the whole time. And she answered our questions, and is like maybe being hypnotized, or what I would imagine it's like to be hypnotized, just kind of under a spell, right? And you're just like, what the fuck? And you're just kind of trying to shake it off. Then I was able to shake it off and kind of grabbed my buddy, and he kind of snapped out of it. And she just kind of laughed and went on her way and gave us the information we were asking for. And we looked down and we lost several hours or a few hours.
So do you think she could have been an alien, like the Polynesians?
I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't even jump that far. I mean, the thing is, will we drink the night before? Sure. Could we have just kind of wandered around and lost track of time? Very possible. Okay. Was she stunningly beautiful? Absolutely. Could it just been a confluence of events? Yeah, sure. We're also at an altitude that I'm not used to being at. You know what I mean? Like
John Lines wants to ask you a question. He asked, did she probe you?
I don't know that I would have fought it though. But no, it was. And when she left, she said she was going home, but she walked into the church that was in front of us. And my friend's wife was trying to get a hold of him, and he called her back, and she was like, I don't know, she thought we were day drinking, but
he was terrified of it.
He was, and he doesn't talk about it now. In fact, I would say the reason, like, we really haven't spoke in years, and I would say it's probably because of that.
But you weren't terrified of it, but he was terrified.
I don't know that I was afraid. I don't know, man. It's kind of like getting like contact high. If you've been in a room where everyone's getting high and you're just kind of there and you kind of get that, and you're trying to think and it's just cloudy, right? Like you're just not forming the process, and you're like, oh, that's right, everyone around me's getting high, so no, I got high. Oh, that must be what it is. Only it was like, why can't I think? Like, well, I should be saying something. You know what I mean? Like all I did was smile like an idiot and just kind of,
Sounds almost like a fear response.
No, because I didn't freeze in place, and my fight or flight, which I know is fight, not flight.
No, that's but it sounds like a different type of response. Maybe a type of fear response that you weren't used to.
I don't know. He was only afraid afterwards. Like afterward is when it set in. It wasn't during it. You were like a drug. It was like a drug. It was very strange. It was very strange. It was very much like a drug. Like if at that moment, if she's like, hey, well, let's
I've known girls like that.
Yeah, it's like if she's like, let's go jump off a bridge, I'd be like, all right, yeah, let's go. That's a fucking great idea. I'll go first. Very much like that. Very much like that. Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of clouded part of the rest of the trip, but rest of the trip was good,
That's probably like what it's like to meet, because you hear the rumors and what people have said when they met Crowley, that he just fucking dominated that room.
Yeah,
I think some people are different. I don't know if any of you people have. That sounded quite condescending, didn't it? If any of you people have met somebody,
you know what you meant. Meant we're little people. We
have met somebody that's like exceptional. Like the only story I have is I met Lewis Hamilton, and I've never been a Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm even less of a Lewis Hamilton fan now than I was at the time. And it was the fact that you knew he was going to walk in the room before he walked in the room. It was really weird. And like when there was like a room of maybe 200 other journalists that were there, and he was different. And I just interviewed Valtteri Bottas before that, and done a Q&A with Toto Wolff. So I'd already spoke to people that are heavily involved in Formula One before Lewis Hamilton turned up. and like he was. It was like an alien. It was like we're made of the same stuff, but you're a different thing to me, and it was really strange.
The only time I've come across something like that is I was sent to go and photograph Oliver Reed, the actor, who was coming into the local airport, and the guy was a prolific drinker, and while he was waiting for his driver to turn up, he said, "Come on to the bar and I'll buy you a drink." And God, I mean, just the people just gravitated towards him.
You had a beer with Oliver Reed?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, sure did. It was just before his Gladiator. So that was his next project. And then he passed away. Yeah, passed away during it. So he did. He was planning to do a film about a local cannibal, Sonny Bean. And he was doing research on it and stuff. That's why he was in the neighbourhood. But yeah, no, he was just, everybody gravitated towards him. It was bizarre. But it was like that, you know, you literally felt his presence before he was anywhere near you.
It could just be something as simple as humans we celebrate talent. You know, it's because I'm sure it doesn't matter whether you play pool or whether you're a musician, there will always be like especially music for some reason, but there will always be like those couple of people that have got even if they're not going to become professional within the scene that they're in, they've got just enough talent to be exceptional around who they're around, and those people generally can't do enough for.
Yeah, people react different to fame. Yeah. See, this chick wasn't famous though, so that wasn't it. It wasn't. And like the thing is, I remember her being attractive, but
it's just some people.
You mean some people have some that they maybe they know the secret.
Maybe
she's hiding that secret in a ridiculously rural Alps, a town in the Alps, doing nothing with it because
isn't she?
Speaking of Alps. Was it the Alps where Crowley killed? No, well, he didn't kill, but he a whole team died.
That was a K2.
That was on K2. Yeah.
Well, speaking of K2.
Yeah, speaking of K2. Sorry, I don't know my geography. But yeah, in fact that he didn't feel. The story goes he didn't feel any remorse for that. But again, we're hearing that through history. You know, you're hearing that through somebody reporting on what he said when they saw Crowley. You're hearing that these people that died up there didn't like Crowley. Isn't that odd?
Not in the climbing community. Like a lot of climbers, especially free climbers and stuff like that, are very selfish people, and by their nature, and they don't mean to be, but like you literally can lose your friends. One season you could lose 6 to 8 friends climbing. So there's a detachment to.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, but what was reported was there was a landslide and Crowley just sat there. So who reported on him just sitting there?
Yeah, because everybody else died.
Yeah, but who reported on him just sat there and not feeling any remorse?
Probably him. Telling his own story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I can tell you it's not a fear, like still that chick, that's not a fear response, because I had a fear response when I was on the beach with the lady and her kid on the beach in the middle of the night.
Yep.
That one I ran like a child. But
you rang me the next morning.
I did. I called you when we first got there. I was showing you the house. It was awesome. Yeah, it was weird, man. Whatever. But Crowley, he's a I don't know. I'm inclined to believe he was onto something and or figured something out.
Do you
That's
think
what
he
I
was
took away.
evil? Do you think he was evil?
Probably. I mean, if
What
anything,
if
what
he-
he did with kids was on point, then yeah.
But that
Don't do
okay. But
those
what
things.
if it's either it's right? It's easier to steal. It's easier to steal money than make money. Let's say that. You know, you can steal a greater quantity of money, depending on how dastardly you want to be about doing it, than it is to make it. So, if we think of this, it generally is quite difficult to be good. So, if that's a natural law, we'll say, for want of better words, then maybe that works in the same thing. If we just play with the idea that magic and this type of magic is actually real and yields results. So if, for want of better words again, dark magic is easier than light magic and gives better results quicker, does that necessarily mean the person has to be evil to do it? Or does the act itself, is the act itself evil? So to get results from it, you have to do evil things. Does that make the person evil?
I think if you're doing it for as many years and dedicating your life to it, yeah, probably.
But so does
The
that
semantics of doing it one time, like that's I don't know, man. Probably. In my personal morality, yeah, I would say yeah. You crossed an incredible line, but that wasn't. He didn't do it once.
No, but
that was a dedication to it, which I'm not a fan of. I don't like, and I would definitely describe as evil. But I can also respect the dedication and effort.
But you're saying for is it a bad thing if it generates a good thing in the from what you did? Well, I mean, look, there wouldn't be NASA without Parsons.
Well, that's
not as we know it.
I'm not sure that's a good thing.
Yeah,
but
there wouldn't be Tom Cruise without Hubbard.
No, he would still. Tom Cruise would still exist.
Yeah, and
would he though? Would he have his success without that religion that he?
Yeah, because the religion came
He would
after
just find something else.
He's Tom Cruise has been in that for 30 years.
Yeah, he would have found something
over
else.
30 years.
If Scientology didn't exist.
He wasn't a Scientologist during Cocktail.
No, but he's been a Scientologist for 30 years.
Yeah, but so we'd have just had Cocktail Tom Cruise instead of Mission Impossible Tom Cruise. I could live with that.
He started doing Scientology at Risky Business.
Oh, did he?
Because his first wife.
No, I'm not going to lie. I just pulled Cocktail out my ass. I wasn't expecting one of us to be such an avid Tom Cruise fan.
I'm sure you did pull it out of your ass.
Oh, love the guy. No, but I just remember watching Louis Theroux's documentary about Scientology, and they obviously mentioned Cruise, and it was his first wife, whose name escapes me, I think Mimi Rogers.
Yeah.
Mimi Rogers.
Yeah.
And she's the one that got him into Scientology, and that was like during his Risky Business phase of his career. So, but no, I don't know. Hubbard's a weird one as well. That whole Scientology thing's batshit crazy.
Yeah, he just made a cult. That's what he did.
Yeah.
He just made a cult to make money. That's exactly what he did. Which, hey,
clever guy.
Clever guy.
But on the doing bad to do good thing, I get what Ollie means there. I mean, we have like blood rituals and sacrifices have been a thing for since our oldest records of man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is again, it makes me think. I mean, I know we think back to like primitive civilizations, and we go, "Oh, aren't they stupid?" Meanwhile, we have something like, isn't it 600,000 children go missing every year in America alone? So, and there's an incredible amount in England as well, but I forget what that number is.
It's crazy high per capita.
Yeah,
it's like in the thousands, considering the amount of folk that stay in the UK It's
Yeah,
crazy high.
Yeah. So, and without this getting YouTube unfriendly, I 100% believe that there are some terrible things that go on around that, including the Google search engine stuff, word.
But see, with like dark magic or black magic or whatever you want to call it, is there not like a price that you effectively have to pay for doing the rituals?
It's almost like
to benefit from it.
Yeah, it's almost like that that class would become so scared of death if they knew there was some sort of karma retribution after life.
That's why you make that decision. You make that decision young. And then when you're older, you're like, damn, this is going to end and I fucked up big.
And then they would do anything to prolong their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is again, I think anyone that's listened to this, to any of these shows knows that I've done a bit of Formula One stuff. And I was always a big Niki Lauda fan. And I still am a big Niki Lauda fan, seemed like a good guy. But I think it was like 5 years ago, something like that, he had another relapse from his car crash where his lungs collapsed and he needed like a lung transplant, and he had a lung transplant in like 24 hours or something like that. Now, if something happens and all of a sudden you need organs really quickly before something happens to you, I would be sat there afterwards trying to work out, that was handy. That was handy that these organs were available for me.
I know which hospital to go to. I do.
But I just think there has to be something. If people are being willing to sacrifice their own child, their own firstborn children,
like potentially Crowley.
Yeah.
Did Crowley have kids?
One that died.
Right.
And Bush.
I think there was another.
I only know of the one.
Yeah, because didn't he have one later on in life, towards the end?
Maybe. Yeah, when he's like 50.
Second
yeah,
wife.
I think so. Yeah, when he's like 50. Yeah. Yeah. He's an interesting dude, man. But the thing is, what I found most fascinating is when you dig through it, the connections to so many other people, like the Jack Parsons thing, like NASA, And if you're connected to NASA and Jack Parsons, you're also connected to Project Paperclip, because that's what they all got funneled through. That's interesting.
Again, not to repeat myself from Friday, the whole thing of the Nazi war effort and using resources to essentially go on Indiana Jones-esque magical jaunts. It's crazy. To think you would, in the middle of a war, and maybe it is bullshit. Maybe it's bullshit, and maybe if they hadn't done that with their resources, the war effort would have ended differently for them. Maybe they fucked it by being too superstitious.
I don't know if you know this or not, but they actually won.
Well, yeah. I mean, they
threw the chaff away, man, but they won.
Yeah, there's some excellent shows from Majid Nawaz, where he believes that lots of the stuff we've lived through in recent histories is because of Nazis that were absorbed into the West.
It's funny we should say about that was the Second World War, but the First World War. Did you hear about the Crowley stuff with the spy?
Yeah, where he was a spy for a while.
Yeah, he was part of. Because I tell you who was big on Crowley, Christopher Lee, the actor, who was like the spy. I mean, what he did in World War II, it was basically what his cousin Ian Fleming based James Bond upon. And
was Ian Fleming Christopher Lee's cousin?
Yeah.
I had no idea of that. I love Hammer Horror and I love Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Christopher Lee was originally part of the OSS and also was part of the original company that then became the SAS. He was very much a spy during World War II and afterwards, and he was like big on Crowley. He had a lot of like Crowley's like things that Crowley owned and stuff like that. He collected. He was a big fan of Crowley, from what I understand.
But Crowley was accused of being going and being a traitor to his country. Am I right?
Was he?
That? Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what I heard in a podcast. Let's just put it that way.
Is that not just something that they tried to tar him with?
No. They said that he was deemed a traitor, but what he was really doing is he was a spy. Yeah.
Double agent type scenario.
Yeah, double agent.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Love him or hate him or whatever you think about the guy, what a fucking life.
He lived an interesting life.
Very. That guy really fucking lived.
Isn't it weird though when you get these people that seem to have lived like 2 or 3 lives? They've done so much. You just think, how have you had the time to do these things?
I know. Hidden, what's the most interesting thing that you found along your journeys with looking into Crowley?
The link with Loch Ness. I always thought that was pretty crazy, especially like with many people saying that he left the portal open.
What, Loch Ness?
No, he left the portal open. So there's an active portal supposedly being at that place in Loch Ness.
Just opened up and for anything to come through.
You do it. See, if you go to Fort Augustus, which is at the bottom of the loch, and you go right down to the water's edge at sunrise, there's weird blue light comes from that area of where the house is, and the locals will tell you about it. Just weird blue light, like in the clouds and stuff, and it's been known locally for years. And Boleskine like literally looks out towards. You've got like Urquhart Castle, which is always like in photos and stuff like that of Loch Ness, and some of the sightings of supposedly the monster are on that side of the loch. But no, there's some weird shit has gone on around about that mansion.
When was the first? When did he move into that house?
I'm going to say 1899, but I don't know exactly.
When did we first ever speak about the Loch Ness Monster in the UK?
Popularity-wise, I think it was 1905.
When was do you know when the first? There was somebody with a desktop.
Are you talking about
I want to know when the first sighting of the Loch Ness Monster, because I just find it fascinating that this motherfucker gets Jack the Ripper and he gets Loch Ness Monster, and he's got Jack Parsons behind NASA. He's got the fucking Scientologist guy.
He's connected. Just have a look. 1933 was the first sort of big.
Was that the first report of the Loch Ness Monster?
No, it goes all the way back to 565 AD.
Okay, fair enough.
St. Columba. There's stories of water beasts and kelpies and all that kind of nonsense. But there's a lot around.
But the main one was 1935.
The main ones that kind of.
When did Crowley move into that house? I know it was before.
It was during that time.
He died in 1940. Was it 1945? 1945
yeah.
He died, and that was essentially his retirement home, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
What year did he move into that house?
Let's see if I can find out.
Dave, you know about like you've looked into stuff like this, like summoning stuff and things being brought in from elsewhere.
Have I?
Well,
don't know.
you've probably looked into it more than we have. I'm just wondering if somebody was to summon something, who's to say that it couldn't go into the fucking water? Because we always talk about every image of the Loch Ness monster, like that you see. Let's forget the fake ones, but everyone that looks kind of legit doesn't really show a plesiosaurus. It shows a serpent.
Are there any that look legit? I think. Oh, I'm not saying there's not. But apart from that one where it looks like a head sticking out that we know is fake now.
Right.
Everything else tends to be just like shadows under the water. I think.
He
but
bought it in 1899, and the house was sold from under him in 1918.
When was the first report of serpents?
1905, like the whole sort of photographs and things like that. 1905 was
the first.
Interesting.
I looked it up. The first report is in the 6th century by an Irish monk named Saint Columba.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, Saint Columba.
So that would be like the first recorded of it.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of photographs and the modern sightings of the Loch Ness monster, Crowley would have been about then. Because they in this thing at Boleskine House and the website boleskine.org, I mean, they kind of paint him as a kind of mountaineer, explorer, adventurer, chess champion more than anything else, other than
he was a chess master.
You don't really go so much into the magic side of things. Although they do mention it.
Well, I mean, that's like when you look into Jack Parsons, like they don't bring up his occult.
No.
Any of his occult work. They're like, oh, he's a brilliant scientist, engineer, physicist. Like he's an amateur. He used to clean floors and then help found JPL. Like, yeah, he was also into some other shit. Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, not to mention that.
Yeah.
But Stu, as a Scotsman, let's be honest. I mean, the Loch Ness Monster's got a lot of bullshit to it, but it's got a lot of fucking legend to it, where people have spoke about seeing fucking something in that water for a long time.
Do you remember the naturalist Terry Nutkins?
Yeah.
Right. He stayed in Fort Augustus and he had a hotel there. And we went and had a meal or two there a few times. And you would sit and start regaling you of stories of Johnny Morris and Animal Magic and the shows that he was on in the 70s and early 80s. But he's seen some really weird shit in the loch and captured stuff on film. Because he got the projector out one night and showed us some bits and pieces. And to me, it looked like a big, massive sturgeon fish. But there was no definitive sort of thing to what it was. But there's loads of locals. I've seen some weird sightings up there. But
the reason why
there is.
The reason why I say this is this guy, he moves very close to which is considered a massive fucking like myth, legend, whatever. But then he met this motherfucker, which is basically what this channel's fucking based on, is aliens, and that looks like a motherfucking alien. So I'm just wondering if this guy knew where his bread was buttered.
I don't know. I mean, Loch Ness itself is a weird loch because it's extremely deep. I mean, I think it is the deepest loch in the UK. The volume of water it holds literally is pretty vast. And there's just weird things go on in the mountains around you. It's just such a strange area to like. It's beautiful. It really is. It's absolutely gorgeous. But there's some weird shit goes on around it. You know, you get weird weather patterns and all sorts of things going on up there. You could literally go to the top end of the loch and it's completely sunny, gorgeous. And then you go to the middle and the southern end of the loch and it just looks like winter's day, you know. It's just bizarre. It's like going through a wall of weather.
Lee, was it 2 days ago that I was speaking to you and saying, have you found anything on Lamb? I asked you that for this show. I said, what are you hearing about Lamb? And I found it really hard to find any solid information.
I think it's weird
this thing.
how especially like in our modern sort of
It also has a child's face on its cheek, by the way.
Oh yeah, you said that. Yeah, I can't see it now.
See, the only thing I knew about Lamb prior to digging this week was H.P. Lovecraft.
Mm.
Go on.
He did a story about a grey alien lamb, but I don't know whether that was based off of like Crowley stuff or whatever, because it is linked.
What he called it, Lamb.
Yeah.
So Lamb is Tibetan. It means way or path.
Right.
How
Sorry, go on, mate.
No, just how does anybody know how long he spent time with this thing, talking to it back and forth?
No.
Well, 1919 was when he first made contact. But one thing I've just actually read here, Lamb was actually the shortened name. It was its proper name was Lama of Leng, as in Dalai Lama.
Well, I'd also saw another one where in his created thing he was trying to contact an astral entity being God that had like a Shalama or some name like that, and then he ended up coming up with Lamb. Like that was the point of the Montauk, like the ritual he did in Montauk. That was again 6 months. I don't know, man. Again, everything around him is just really cloudy and murky, like, which is weird. You know, such a tabloided, talked about figure. You would think that there would be better trails, like people would have dug through this.
Wait, hold on. H.P. Lovecraft supposedly made contact with Lamb, and the whole Cthulhu thing, mythos, comes out of the connections that he made through Lamb. So it is through Crowley. So H.P. Lovecraft must have known Crowley then. God, it just gets weirder and weirder.
It gets weirder and weirder, man.
That's a party.
That is not a party, dude.
That is a party and a half.
He's a motherfucking party, that.
H.P. Lovecraft, those stories, if that's the inspiration, but like, oh man, that's wherever the hell those things are coming from is not a good time.
No.
The whole thing is just.
Stu, is that factual? The inspiration for Lovecraft comes from Lamb.
So it seems. I can't even pronounce this creature that eventually became Cthulhu, Yarlathotep.
If that's true, why the fuck is nobody speaking about this?
Damn.
And I'm on the H.P. Lovecraft wiki, by the way. This is where I'm digging into this. Lovecraft.fandom.com, and it's their wiki about Lovecraft and all the things that he's linked to.
Dan Plass just said, I thought I heard somewhere that Lamb drawing originally had large eyes, like a grey, but it was changed later. I can't remember anything else, though. I've never heard that, but that would be really interesting if it was true.
Yeah.
The Mandela effect.
Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe. I do find it weird, though, that from all of the Crowley stuff that I tried to cram into my little head before we did this show, I think Lamb it kind of gets forgotten, and I find that really weird.
In what way?
Well, it's just either people don't address it at all, you know, when you watch a documentary, or it'll be like in a montage of things where they're talking about the rituals he's done, and it'll say he supposedly contacting demons, and then it'll show you a quick flash of that picture, and then it's gone again. Anything, when was Alice in Wonderland released?
But didn't he himself, Crowley, didn't Crowley not call this entity a demon nor an alien? He called him an interdimensional being, didn't he?
dimensional being. Yeah.
Which is exactly why this is part of the show.
1865, Lee.
And this is
It's
where I'm.
only the only reason I thought that is because when you look at that picture of Lamb, it has it has a hat like the Queen of Hearts on it.
Yeah.
And so,
Easy. Never noticed that because I'm always fixated on him.
Yeah.
Fucking hell! And also, you seen the modern day Alice in Wonderland? With,
yeah.
It's in the size of a fucking head.
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter,
Yeah. But see, the reason why I threw that in with the interdimensional beings is it's funny that CERN's has got a camera that photographs interdimensional beings.
Or it's CERN Laboratories.
Yeah.
Has it? Wow.
Yeah, this guy developed the camera. This guy developed the camera. All right, you guys, this is something that, they've got pictures, and some of them are, pareidolia, but some of them, they look pretty good.
Well, this goes in with another show I want to do at another point. Have either of you heard of the skull experiments? Skull group?
No.
Skull and Crossbones?
No, Skull. SLCO. They are an it was a group of mediums and psychics, and they put together, if true, some of the best evidence of communication with like the spirit realm or like past lives. Like they did quite a famous experiments where they were getting they came in contact with this group of spirits that were essentially dead scientists and dead theologians that had supposedly this group of spirits had got together and found this group of scientists and mediums that had got together to try and contact them. And because essentially they were working together for the same end, you had this group of spirits that wanted to contact the living and this group of like living people that wanted to contact the dead. And they were doing experiments where they would get the spirits to put to project pictures onto undeveloped film, and then they would go and develop the film, and there was pictures of people, there was pictures of places, there was a picture of a grey alien. It's really weird. But let me see if I can find the picture of the skull group grey alien.
Lee, what are you looking? Lee, was this done on videotape? Did they videotape this?
No, well, there is supposedly a video of one of these entities.
Yeah, I seen that videotape where they recorded it in such a strange manner.
Yeah, well, this was the thing. To prove what they were doing was legitimate, they had Kodak send them film in a sealed box that they put in the middle of the table. They did their seance, and then they sent the film back to Kodak, and there was images on the new film that Kodak had left for them in the unsealed box.
They never. Wow.
It's fucking wild.
It rings very much so of two different things. One, the Philip experiment from 1972, and this again, it's another Canadian one. What's her name? There's an documentary about her. I think it's like Writing in Light, Signs in Light, where she uses her camera. It's an elderly woman who's been doing it her whole life, and if Stu would definitely know more about this because of the camera. Like the camera and film have been set off, to broken apart, looked at. People are like, no, they can't figure it out. In one frame, you'll see the light, this little light, and then it goes to the next frame, and then the next frame, and the frame in between, the light jumps all over the place and makes these huge swirls. And she's been selling it as art, and it's incredible. There are lights in the skies that appear, and as she films them on like one frame of film, you'll see these unbelievable patterns. They're like, there's no way that could happen. There's no way she could move the camera that fast to make that happen. You know, it's just not possible. And the Philip experiment is when a Canadian group of researchers, psychologists, scientists got together and they made up a ghost. They gave him a fake backstory, all these other things, and then they tried to contact Philip. Philip reached back, or at least an entity claiming to be Philip, using the backstory that they had given.
Dorothy Isaac, is that her name? Dorothy Isaac?
Yep.
These are the oh god.
Yeah, the documentary Capturing the Light.
Capturing the Light. That's a great documentary to watch.
Yeah, you can get it for free on Amazon because I watched that not that long ago, actually.
Yeah,
I need to watch this. I've not
it's
seen
very
it.
good.
Not to go
Some of the stuff
because
that she's been, that stuff.
Yes.
It is really fascinating what she's captured, and similarly, Kodak sent her a sealed camera.
Yep.
That she could not get access to the film, and literally it was a case of use it, send it back, and then they'll expose what was going on. And there was really weird shit on it.
Yeah.
Well, this here, this is how they had they did the thing with the film. They put the film in this jar thing, and it's further down. I want to show you. So they came up with like all these like quite trippy images. That face I found fucking terrifying for some reason.
Go back to the face you find terrifying.
The two women, the mirror image of the woman.
Right.
I found that really creepy. But this was all an undeveloped photographic film.
What?
These are the two.
Oh my! I have seen this image.
Alien
I didn't know this.
No, it's very friendly. That thing is definitely friendly.
And they also there was writing written onto the film as well. It's truly fascinating.
Lee, go back to that writing.
Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah, and look at there's a moon and stuff at the back on the film. But yeah, because
Crowley did writing underneath the grey that nobody understood what it was as well.
Yeah, it's like this was just the first Google I did to look for some of the stuff.
Have any of you ever seen Crowley's signature?
It's like some sort of Japanese thing, isn't it?
No, it's the A of Aleister looks like a dick. The way he draws it. If you get his Wikipedia,
is this the signature? Is that this thing, or is that from the grey that you just put? Is that not a signature?
Grey? No, it just his spelling of Aleister Crowley. The A of Aleister just looks like a dick. Honestly, go to Wikipedia and you go down the right hand side, and it shows you that his signature.
Just bring that picture back up, Ollie. The one you did. See, I think the terrible thing here is that not only have we got like an evil Satanist, but you've made Lamb do blackface.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
So something I think it's funny he brought up the A. So Aleister Crowley formed and set up what's called AA. Right?
Alien Addict.
Yeah, it's a magical organization from 1907.
Yeah, I
know, and under 9,000 subs, Ollie. That's bad.
Yeah, I think what is bad, the weird, like 290 to 200, 300 just keeps fluctuating like that. Like, you motherfuckers stop subscribing and resubscribing. Just fucking stand your ground, you nipples.
Bots, mate. If fucking Twitter's full of bots, YouTube is rife with them.
Or maybe it's one guy with a bunch of fake accounts and gets his jollies from going back and forth.
That is also possible.
I genuinely think right now we've got one of the best like paranormal discussion shows going on the market.
Who?
Lee.
I'll watch that channel. Can we get them on the show?
Going back to the thanks, Dave, you twat. going back to the Queen of Hearts though, I just brought it up, Lee. So the heart thing there behind the head, and this is probably really fucking reaching.
No.
It's definitely reaching.
Is it that far? It could be considered a reachy round.
It's definitely a reaching. Yeah, but this Queen of Hearts with the alien-looking head.
Yeah, we're reaching right round.
She's got all those she and in some of the image she's got the upside down hearts, which I find interesting.
I mean, well, Alice in Wonderland is a story about taking psychedelics. That's
and I was actually going to say that maybe once or twice in my life I've seen something kind of similar to that. Not the lamb, but the arts behind it. That film that if you've ever done them, we've done enough of them.
What seeing something behind a person?
Yeah. So allegedly, mushrooms mixed with like a high level of THC from an edible, the way that it breaks down in your liver, THC in an edible in a high dose breaks down in your liver a lot like a psychedelic. And if you take that with an actual psychedelic, it takes you on an incredibly wild ride, and you tend to see a film, but kind of behind everything, like a reality. And it's a fractalish pattern. It could definitely look like hearts. I could definitely see it described like that. I wouldn't describe it like that. Not that I've ever seen it. So yeah. And he did a lot of that shit. So yeah.
He did a lot of that shit.
He did a lot of that shit. Yeah.
So what do we think then after like the talking about this? Do we believe that he was
Jack the Ripper?
No. Was he doing something functional? Or was he? Or did he just build his own legacy and build his own mythos?
He definitely did that. But the question is, did he actually streamline ritual magic?
Yeah.
I don't know. Never tried it.
I think he did most of it just to get laid.
Maybe. Yeah.
Probably. Seems the most likely.
And narcotics.
I mean, the thing is again, we go back to this thing of it being a different time with like the whole like parlor magic and like seances being there. We look at the people using with like spirit boards as like a family get together. Yeah, and it's. I mean, if it would it still be would it be the case that if it wasn't for The Exorcist, we wouldn't be so like scared of Ouija boards?
Yeah.
But I mean,
literally demonized.
If it was just okay, let's just play, pardon the pun, but let's play devil's advocate, yeah, and let's just say that this guy was just messing with a load of stuff for fun.
Don't worry about puns, Ollie. I just said Ouija boards were demonized. You all bets are off now, so you won.
Do you remember? Well, Dave, you've watched it quite a few times now. I showed you guys the BlackStar video.
Yeah, it's loaded with the occult.
And Bowie was absolutely fucking fascinated with him. Absolutely mad on the guy. And that over with the space helmet and all that on and it's on the moon.
That one video is a show all on its own that you could just break down slowly, image for image, word for word of the song.
Have you tried to do that?
Yeah. No, like after you guys showed it to me, I spent a lot of time, dude. I started translating what he was saying.
The
BlackStar. Yeah, where you've got the what looks like I mean, it looks like a girl. I don't think it's a girl. I think it is a man dressed as a girl that's got the tail coming out of the skirt, walking on the moon, and she meets the astronaut that is dead on the moon, and she opens the helmet, and there's the skull there, and the skull's got all the diamonds, studded diamonds inside the skull, and then all of a sudden it goes back to some barn on Earth, and there's these people fucking shaking like fuck in a barn, and it almost looks like they've got something wrong with them. And
Don't be ableist.
There's Bowie holding the Bible up, what looks like the Bible with a black star on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get these people that are on crucifix in a cornfield that are technically scarecrows, but it's odd.
Mm.
It's odd that a guy would do that as one of his last videos before he died.
Yeah, and he part of the song is, he sings like the chorus in the Villa of Ormond. You stand between the light and the darkness
with a solitary candle.
Yeah, a solitary candle shines. And Villa of Ormond is translated as House of Serpents. So in the House of the Serpent, you stand between a solitary candle and the darkness. And then you watch the rest of the video and you're like, oh shit, there's a lot going on here. Dude's trying to say something.
Hey guys, listen, I'm gonna have to bounce because I can hardly keep my eyes open. It's been a busy weekend, so I will let you guys keep chatting and I'll catch up with you very soon.
Cheers, Stu.
All right, Stu.
See you,
Cheers.
Stu.
Catch you later, man. Cheers. Bye.
I'm just looking for something to show you.
Oh, yeah. Was it those texts you sent me earlier?
I just wanted to say though, like when you said like Crowley may have unified the magic, I was also thought, well, the first one of the first people that I knew that actually put stuff down in book was Solomon.
Yeah,
the Solomon Keys. So he kind of unified it in a way to give us answers.
Well, I didn't mean so much like I didn't say unify. I mean like streamlined. He streamlined ritual magic, like sex ritual magic, like that. Clearly is the one he was going for. He studied a lot of it everywhere, and he's like, "Hey, this is what you need to do."
There's another thing I always wanted to know, because I find it kind of interesting that Crowley went into the music scene. He influenced a lot of the music, and then you had Anton LaVey, who went into the movie scene and influenced the movies.
Yeah, but that was definitely a guy that like people like Anton LaVey. It's like, he was really just into fucking and building up his own ego. Like I never considered like the Church of Satan as they're generally atheistic at their core. They don't really believe in anything. It's kind of a joke for them. Yeah,
but
at least all the ones I've ever met.
I find it kind of interesting, like a lot of like the connection with him and James Mansfield. His connection with the where they filmed Rosemary's Baby. Mm-hmm. Now it is a folklore that the devil was played by him. You know what I mean? That is a folklore. But the apartment that John Lennon got shot outside was the apartment building where Rosemary's Baby was filmed.
I think people play around with stuff unintentionally
try and look for
or just to mock it, not even looking for a connection. Like again, I've met several people from the Church of Satan. They tend just to be atheists, and it's kind of a mocking thing that they think it's funny for people who actually believe in anything, and they like to throw it in their face. Like, you're a fucking idiot. You're blah blah blah.
But isn't that the best way? Isn't that the best way to discount something is by mocking it?
No, the best way to do it is to join what you hate. Most of the real people who really believe in dark shit that I have personally met in my life are usually involved in mega church organizations.
Yeah, because that's where you want to be. If you hate something, you want to corrupt it from the inside. Yeah. Can we just skip back 2 seconds to the Bowie thing? Because I wanted to bring this up on a podcast we did a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't get a chance because we finished it. And because it fits again now with what we're talking about, I don't know if you guys know this. You know how Bowie had his own internet service provider, didn't he? BowieNet, and that had its own message board as well. Bowie would post on that message board under the username of Sailor. And the last posts from Sailor, which were done, I can't remember when Bowie died, but it was just before he died. His last 2 posts we were on the 15th, and sorry, they were both on the 15th of December. I thought it was 15th and 16th. But Bowie's last post on BowieNet was, Google's motto is bullshit. They are destroying the most glorious gift humanity was granted in the last 300 years. Google is the Illuminati. The Illuminati is Google. The future under Google is a fascist dystopia. Their way or the highway. No room for dissenters. No room for free speech. Google is a boot stomping on your face for eternity. Signed, Sailor. Is the next one was, Google are the deep state. Forget about conventional wars. Forget about spies. Forget about intelligence agencies. Forget about all that. It's all about the internet. And Google run the internet. They decide how you feel. They decide what you think. What informs you. You can what information you can and cannot look at, and ultimately, who does and doesn't have a voice. For a man that was so switched on with the internet, for a man that had such a reach to his fans as well, and like a direct line of communication, I find it fascinating that those were the last two things he decided to say to his like the core fans. I don't know if you if you meet a Bowie fan, Jesus Christ, that like Bowie fans fucking love Bowie. But I couldn't believe that, because I mean I consider myself a reasonable Bowie fan. I'm not a mega fan by any stretch of imagination. I am a music fan. I also think that there is a secret cabal that's trying to take over the world and send us into some sort of dystopian technocracy. I can't believe it took between 2015 and 2023 for me to read those fucking messages.
I can't believe I ain't heard that before.
Exactly. How have I not read those before?
But is he not speaking the truth though?
Oh, he's speaking 100% truth. That's the thing with Bowie. I'm sure he's been involved in some sort of in some pretty occult dealings. I'm not.
He was definitely searching as well,
like Prince as well. But this is the thing, you know. Prince starts to talk about chemtrails. Prince dies. You know, that's the fact there. It's this whole thing of this. Everybody thinks everybody famous is in the club, and I just simply don't believe it. You know, even when we're doing this show here, because I'm a big Rogan fan, one of our listeners and someone I speak to quite regularly sent me a picture of Rogan and Anton LaVey together. It's, what can it be if there's something there, and it does go back to the Crowley and these teachings and doctrines that these people seem to follow. Isn't it crazy that we don't have the whistleblowers?
Well, we kind of do, but they get silenced.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's
dark, funny enough, I was talking today to my mother-in-law about this comedian. He's one of my favorite comedians, called Cat Williams.
Yeah.
And look what they did to him when he was starting to talk about the parties that he was going to in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the stand-up is there because he did it in a way like kind of how Bill Hicks would do it. You know, it's telling the truth, but he's put it in a joke, and he was doing it that way. And they tried to vilify him. They actually tried to arrest him for robbery of his own jewelry. So they come at you. There was another comedian who spoke out about certain things, and he had to run off to Africa for a bit.
I've literally just put David Bowie occult, and there's loads of stuff of Crowley coming up, loads of it.
I think he would be like the forefather, wouldn't he?
Well, look, I mean, there's the Ziggy Stardust. There is,
Yeah.
there's the. It's hard to find pictures of celebrities, especially like artists that aren't covering an eye. There's definitely photographs of Bowie covering the eye, but like Ziggy Stardust in particular, you know, it's the whole persona was with the right eye covered.
And that's more believable, because I kind of think nowadays they're doing it to sell records, to just get, you know, the moment you see like Jay-Z was doing the symbols and all that, and he was just getting talked about.
I was just going to ask you, Olive, just click those pictures with the Egyptian headdresses on, the two pictures. Because that Crowley on the left?
Yes, that's Crowley.
I mean, he could just be dressed up as an Egyptian. It would have been, I suppose, it would have been
just,
more.
I mean,
I know that holding the arm with the arm down is symbolism, isn't it? I can't remember where it's for, but I know that's a thing.
He's posing like the Sphinx.
No. It's in the same as the. It's not like, you know, the whole as above so
I'll
below
tell you
thing.
what is interesting.
It's in the same realm.
See Baphomet do it.
Yeah.
You see this picture here where he's got the attention to detail. So he's got see the ring. See the ring that he's got on his finger, the lizard. So you've got, if you look at Crowley's ring, he's got a very, very similar ring. You can only just see it. You can't see. Oh, that's a really shit image. So if you get a good quality image of that, you can see it's a serpent ring that he has on his finger. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah,
it makes you wonder what was going on and what's still going on, and I think we get to hear more about it, like under talking about Cat Williams and stuff, like this like prolific movement of these reality celebrities. Doing this, I saw some chick I'd never heard of called Woa Vicky. I have no idea what she's famous for. But anyway, she was talking about going to some Hollywood party of someone else, Bella Thorne, who I don't know who that is either.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. But anyway, so I guess she got invited to this Hollywood party, and they're like, hey, before you go, you have to sign this agreement, then you have to ink it in blood. And she was like, what? No, absolutely not. I'm not going. But this is a really big party. This is the party.
This will make you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I don't give a shit. I'm not doing that. Like,
well, hasn't that a Nickelodeon guy just gone missing? What's his name?
I don't know.
He was the star of a.
They found him. I know who you're on about. Drake.
Is he alive?
Yeah. They found him.
Because he's he went missing shortly after he started talking about like abuse in Hollywood of child actors.
So they replaced him,
or just
had a serious conversation with him.
Yeah, can we have a chat with you?
Yeah, take these drugs. We'll be back in 72 hours. Watch the flashing light.
Yeah. That scene from never mind.
Yeah, it's like, well, you mean, look at what Mel Gibson was talking about back in the day. It's always this weird veiled. What's going on? What are you talking about? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want any part of it. I don't. I'm good. I'm good right here. I'm just fine right here.
That's what I think. I think that Cat Williams, when he saw what was going on, he was so shocked.
Yeah.
And
there was a podcast I'd watched with these. Again, I had no idea who they are or the name of it. It was, I guess, TikTok celebs doing I don't know. And it caught my eye because a friend of mine had shared it with me, and he never shares anything like this. And they were talking about a friend of theirs who somebody came and offered her, like, hey, if you want to be famous, you have to sell your soul and you have to sacrifice a family member. And if you do that, I'll guarantee you fame. Like that's what will happen. And she went and told them, and they're like, what? That doesn't sound real. And I guess she called and told her mom, and her mom said, I'll do that for you. I'll definitely be your sacrifice so you can live your dream.
Wow.
And they're like, I don't know, maybe it was a joke. Maybe. Not only that, like the chick's mom's like, I'm down for that. I'll do that for you. Dude, I love my kids. I know. No. I ain't doing it.
No, if you were older, let's say you were in your 70s.
No.
I got some
because that leads to a path that you don't come back from.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, if you take out the fact that this is clearly fucking
human sacrifice and making a pact with the devil.
Yeah, but I get what you mean, but it's I can understand why someone would do it.
I guess, but the same thing is like, I don't know, man. There's so much dark stuff that's veiled that no one wants to talk about. Like, look at the Podesta emails. You got Hillary Clinton talking about sacrificing chickens to Moloch.
Yeah.
What?
Look at that. I mean,
ha ha ha, or laugh out loud. Like, fuck. What are you talking about? And why did you pick that specific reference
name? Yep.
That one.
Well, look at the laptop, the Wiener laptop, and the supposed file. If you don't,
I don't ever want to look at that laptop. I don't want to know where that laptop is. I never want to watch that video because 12 is dead. 27. It's 27.
27 now, is it? 27 of the police officers that worked on the case died.
Everyone that was on that case has died. Anyone that touched that laptop is dead.
Wild.
The curse.
That's enough. It's not a curse. It's not a curse by any stretch of the imaginations. It's those people they
saw some shit they shouldn't have seen.
Yeah, they've seen stuff they shouldn't have seen it, and they have been eliminated for seeing that. Old.
Yep.
Now I want to see the laptop.
No. Off stream. If you don't know what it is, when we finish this, I will tell you what is supposedly on that. But if I might as well tell Ollie to close the channel down as talk about it.
Oh yeah, like there's a specific name and reference. It's not even.
Yeah. It's just we just shut up shop. That's
yep.
But yeah, I think this is the thing. Maybe we change the name of this show from Aleister to Ziggy or something like that, and like the history of occult magic, something. Ollie's put his microphone
Anthony
on.
Weiner's laptop.
Ziggy Crowley. It's got a ring.
Yeah. No, A to Z. Aleister to Ziggy. But this is where, to be perfectly honest, like this is where I was really hoping this show would go, because this modern cult that I shouldn't say modern, because I don't think it is modern. I think it's super old. And I think the teachings are super old that people are following. I think that's the biggest conspiracy. I think the fact that we are interfered with and corralled by a secret cabal that live under very different rules with a very different religion to what we see surface level. In the same way as that there is, if you look at the internet, the internet is what it is. We know there's a dark layer that lives underneath that on the internet, and if you're on surface web, you won't see any of that. You don't see it, so that's fine. You live your life. I think there is just to reality in general, there is a subsurface level.
Lee, we have a fan watching right now who's been messaging me.
Do we? Tell her Joe Rogan is not. Oh no, I can tell her. There's nothing wrong with Joe Rogan. He's an angel.
I think Joe Rogan is easily confused and bamboozled.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Hey, mode. That's all we'll say. Hey, mode. I know you want to know.
I'd just like to say hello, Joe Rogan, and what they said does not have anything to do with me, and I'll be happy to be a guest on your show.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. I'm good. I don't want. Someone else can have that fame. Yeah.
I couldn't.
Thank you. More Joe Rogan for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't believe it the other day. I was watching a like documentary on YouTube, and it had various clips and stuff like that. And then the next thing is, it rolled around a clip of Fox News, and who did I see sat on Fox News but your good self?
Oh
me?
God, yeah,
Yes.
you Hidden. You're on Fox News.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
had
was
no
awesome.
idea.
That was awesome. He shared that in the chat. I was like, that's awesome.
Well done, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you. That
Yeah,
was a
no, it was-
long time ago.
Yeah, no, I was just, it was one of the, it was so weird because I didn't know that had happened, and then it just popped up that, hang on a second, I know that individual.
But you've been in the UK papers again this week. Was it this week or last week?
This week, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been pretty much global this week.
Man. Go
Yeah,
check out Hidden People.
that was a crazy interview, man.
Moody Mongols just put a great post up there that I think is quite relevant to
I
a
love
lot of the
Moody.
stuff we've
Really like
we've talked
Moody.
about. Yeah, no, he's a really good like
How do you know Moody's a
contributor to
he?
the chat. What?
I didn't know he's a he.
Demographics.
Christopher Lee was against. I might as well just say that and get myself into trouble before I get myself into trouble by trying to get myself out of trouble. Moody Mongol. Christopher Lee was against all that stuff. Plus, people approached him who were very into it. Lee was religious and didn't go for that stuff, but given his roles, he deeply researched it. And regardless of his roles, I think that's the other thing to think about when you see pictures of people with people, or people are into well, essentially what we do. You know, like if you look at some of the stuff, especially on the like the modern conspiracies where we talk about like people going missing and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of children going missing. Like you don't come back from that the same when you look into that stuff, and that has changed me. Like looking into that sort of thing has definitely changed me as a person. But you don't have to agree with something to want to know more about it. I think that's what needs to be remembered about this. So just because people were invested in Crowley and like looking into the stuff he was doing doesn't necessarily mean you read Crowley, you're a Satanist. You know, it is better to know your enemy than not to know him.
That's what I say. Thank you. But I wanted to ask you, God, now I lost my train of thought. It'll come back. I just lost it. I had it on the tip of my tongue. I wanted to ask you something. Nah.
Oh, it'll come back.
You know, I'll be in the shower and that's it. That's what I wanted to ask you.
If you
make sure you video call him while you're in the
shower.
shower. He likes that.
He does.
He really does.
I do.
I'm like, Lee, my phone's not waterproof. He's like, no, just fucking turn it on.
Yeah, get under. If I don't see your gooch,
Get a webcam.
If I don't see your gooch, it's not real.
Do you think that the drawing though has anything to do with what people like tell us that they're seeing?
No.
8 grey aliens.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't.
You do?
I don't believe in
the people. No, the people who you believe are like not the crazy ones, but the ones that see this.
I think there's something like I don't believe the like we spoke about the cave paintings, didn't we, the other day? And that's what we've seen. We know that there has been archaeology seized that people don't see. There is 100% more ancient depictions of those beings. I would.
Yeah, there's also 100% fuckery going on as well with some of those paintings.
Yeah, like and the Egyptian statues that are just like X-Files graves. You know, well, that's clearly not
holding little grays.
Yeah.
Crazy things going on there.
Yeah.
No, we're just gonna tuck that in the back of the museum. We don't.
Thank you.
Anyone.
Thank you to the National History Museum.
Yeah.
To the Smithsonian.
Yeah. I mean, you just wonder, like, what's there? That's the what's so special? Because there is some fucking. I love museums, like always have done, and there's some amazing stuff in museums, even like really cool dinosaur fakes. But the
And he doesn't mean that because he's a dinosaur hater, but every dinosaur in a museum is fake.
Yeah,
they are. They absolutely are.
Everyone is. Everyone is.
Destroyed my head. My head, like when I found that out.
It's so weird, isn't it? Every single one of them.
Do you know what the really weird thing is? It's
to preserve soft tissue.
It seems to be a happy fakery as well. You know, like you get houses, especially like up in the Hollywood Hills and stuff like that. People will sell houses and it'll be like, this house comes with its own dinosaur, and they've got like a dinosaur skeleton in the living room, and you go, well, fuck, well that's not real because the ones in the museum aren't real, but people will be, because they're fossils. They're legitimate dinosaur fossils, which we know are recreations of the actual casts.
I do have to say that I have found fossils before.
I don't not believe in fossils, but I don't not believe in dinosaurs. I just think it's another one of those things that you find out and you go, that's just really strange. You know, it's just another quirk to this fabric of reality that I remember going to the Natural History Museum in London for the first time, and the coolest thing I saw there was the dinosaur bones. And then I went to another place when I was in the US, and the only fossil they had in there was a T-Rex skull fossil. I don't even think there's been like a T-Rex skull, like a complete skull discovered, you know, even in
not been a complete dinosaur.
Yeah. No, but even a complete T-Rex skull, I don't know if there's been one.
The most complete dinosaur they ever found was Sue. Is it Sue? Am I right by saying that? It was Sue in the States, and that was a T-Rex. Yeah.
Oh, was it? All right. Okay, maybe
that was the most complete one ever found.
But even when setting her up, they like purposely broke bones to make it look like what they think it should. And if you've ever seen, like, they say, well, this is an artist representation and recreation of what a dinosaur would look like. You ever seen when they give them a hippo skull and don't tell them and tell them to do it? Looks nothing like a hippo. Looks nothing like a hippo. They have no fucking clue what these things look like. Not a one.
Yeah. Even down to the. I mean, that would make another good show. You know, if we're going to keep Sundays for like less aliens, more paranormally, like current conspiracy stuff.
We'll keep Sundays. Terminate the channel.
Yes, I was going to say we keep Sundays trying to kill this channel. Fridays we have a show. What do you do Sunday? We try and get them to take down the show.
Yes, make sure you go and find us on Rumble, people.
It's the last thing they would expect. we'll confuse them.
Are they trying to grow the channel or shut it down? I don't know anymore.
Maybe that's it. Maybe Friday all we do is talk about what a good job CNN do about UFO disclosure, and then Sunday we talk like this, and they won't know what to do with it. We love them on Friday, but we fucking hate them on Sunday. I can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, I think that would be a good show as well, the dinosaur thing. But
we should start making these live on Twitter.
We could make them live on Twitter. We're live on TikTok as well now. I don't know how we would have to stream live on Twitter. Maybe we could do it in a similar way.
Yeah.
I do think Twitter is a good way to go platform wise. It seems to be, as the.
We should have just a Twitter show. We could make Sundays just a Twitter show.
We could do.
Yeah, and test out
just
Elon
Twitter
Musk's
show
freedom.
on Sunday. Yeah, we'll really test it. We'll talk all about Anthony Weiner's laptop. Because if we lose our Twitter, that's not such a big deal.
We'll fucking set UFO Twitter on fucking fire.
Tim Pool, actually, I watched it on YouTube as well. So I do think that YouTube are slacker. Like I don't know if you're necessarily going to get it searchable, but I think they are not quite as tight as they have been. I think all the companies will have to be. I think Facebook will be as well, because the market has to react. If Musk carries on doing the job he's doing,
Yeah.
like the market will have to react to that.
If they actually care about money.
If they care about money, and see that's another. I'm going to go off on another tangent here without even fucking finishing.
Yeah, we need to end the show. We don't need to do that.
Yeah, but the money thing really gets to me, and it's kind of unfitting if we're talking about these shadow groups. What Disney is doing with their intellectual property, and the way the public is starting to see that company, does not make sense. It's the same as what Budweiser have just done with the having Dylan. Is it Dylan?
Yeah.
Promote Bud Light. It doesn't make sense. Anybody that like looks at the demographic of who drinks that beer, or just the sea of how the sea.
I mean, let's face it, it's a fucking wank beer anyway. It's not.
That's true. It's the most popular beer in the world.
Yeah, but it's a shit beer. It tastes like wank.
No, but they've just tanked their stocks.
6 billion, I heard they lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I'm not to steamroll over. In some ways, I think they kind of want you to want people to go, oh, it's a shit beer, because it takes away from the fact that what they did was they've just lost a huge amount of money, a big chunk of market share, not for profit but for idealistic purposes.
I don't know why, because I don't think real men would drink that beer anyway.
Hey,
it's a light beer.
I like a Bud Light.
Go on, Andrew. Say some more.
But this is the thing that I don't understand why all of a sudden companies that have spent their entire histories just wanting to make money are willing to lose huge chunks of it because of like ideals.
So here's one. Here's one for Anheuser-Busch. Anheuser-Busch, which makes Bud Light.
Yes.
The CEO used to be a Marine lieutenant and then ducked out of the Marines and worked as a CIA operations officer.
That's interesting.
Yep. And
is that Bush?
Then he became
connected
CEO.
to the Bush? Are they connected to the Bushes?
No.
No.
So the current CEO is a former CIA operations officer.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. So he went from a CIA operations officer to rubbing. I don't know what he's rubbing. I don't want to know.
Rubbing
Dylan.
Probably. Running Anheuser-Busch. A fucking $100 billion plus company.
Probably better wages.
He's qualified, I'm sure. Yeah.
I just can't. Bud Light is, in my British head anyway, the like redneck nectar. I can.
It is.
Yeah, and so if you've got a load of guys sat down the south, chugging down Bud Light, watching NASCAR, eating barbecue, and you go, how can we sell more of this stuff? I say, well, is this like trans guy on TikTok that spends most of their time like acting like a preteen girl? We think perfect marketing link up.
Oh yeah, it's gonna really
fucking weird. It's a weird choice. No, not to have that person advertise stuff. Fine, if it works with your brand, go with it. Do you know what I mean?
Not that brand.
Bud Light is not the brand for it.
No.
So weird. Like the loss of money and revenue. Like Disney tanked Toy Story. Mm-hmm. Disney tanked Toy Story with the Bud Lightyear movie. Like how? Like what you've got like one of the most beloved film franchises, and you put a film out that a large portion of your audience isn't going to want to take their children to for whatever reasons, if however you feel, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And history has proved me right, because it didn't just break even; it lost millions. When I was in that was on in the cinema when I took my son into the toy shop, and it was fucking, the toys for the Buzz Lightyear movie were on sale, like half price.
Oh yeah, straight away they were
when the film was still in the cinema.
crazy.
Fuck my left nostril.
And you see that reaction, like Disney parks are losing. Like I got a bunch of kids. I'm a family man. We go to Disney, or used to. Now we don't. We would go do something else, and that's. Yeah. And I know other people. And like we go there. I got a bunch of kids. I got a wife. We'll take like nephews and things like that, and other family members who want to go. That oh, I've never been to Disney. It's like, oh, come on, we'll take care of it. Come with us, and so that's a substantial loss, right? And I know many other people like me that are like, no, fuck that. I'll go do something else. I'll throw this money anywhere else. I'll light it and fire in the backyard first. It's such a bad business move. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
Important question here for me and Ollie and Hidden Underbelly. What beer is the most drank in Great Britain?
Whatever's in my fridge.
Carling is
Stella.
I hate Carling, but I'm thinking Carling.
I'd rather suck a dog's dick than drink Carling.
I mean, I can do both, but I'm
go either way on that one.
So most beers that are popular in Britain, I call witch piss. So you got your Carling, your fucking Foster's, which is just wank in a fucking tin. I generally I like Estrella, Madri.
Yeah, I'm in that bracket, and Amstel is a good
I love Amstel, love an Amstel. Yeah,
it's a lager with a bit of a taste.
I cannot drink Stella. Stella just turns me into an absolute twat.
I don't like Stella. The reason why I said Stella though is because of the FHM article where they did some sick survey about domestic violence, and they happened to ask the people that were beaten, what beer was your partner drinking, and it was Stella. So Stella in pubs has the nickname the wife beater.
Yeah. Do you know I'm not going to say I can relate to that because I beat my wife, but I can. She would.
I have done, but I don't drink Stella.
Ollie, we all know she beats you.
She would beat the living shit out of me. Yeah, I would. But Stella as a beer I used to drink that all the time when I went out, and then I had to stop drinking it because I realized it kind of made me turn. I became a very jealous man around like ex-boyfriends and stuff like that.
Why you've got yourself and your girlfriend? Why are you jealous about your old exes?
Yeah, why?
Stella is a weird drink.
On the booze,
weird fucking drink. Honestly, that's got so many chemicals in that shit.
You made your choice. You stopped going out with the boys and started going out with a woman. It was your choice.
More of a red wine lad.
My personal
and
beer,
it comes in a
should drink Bud Light then.
My personal beer that I do like is Kronenberg 1664. I think that's a nice beer.
Nothing wrong with a bit of Cronin.
What a time for Mr. Squatch to come in.
He didn't miss a thing.
He literally commented there with you going, I'm a red wine man, and me going, and it comes in a sex toy.
Oh dear.
I think at the 2 hours 24 minutes and 10-second mark, this is probably a good time to wrap her up before it's fucking 2 o'clock in the morning.
Can we quickly add that we are after some sort of beer sponsor? So
yeah, and Ollie will happily change sex.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll put him in interest.
Yeah, if you pay us enough, he'll become a man.
So Bud Light, are you listening? You could redeem yourself in England. Alien addict for Bud Light.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't even need to be paid. I just like to be like, if you could just feed us beer, that'd be
Nah,
money
I don't
enough.
drink, man.
Joe Rogan was drinking them the other day, wasn't he, with his buddy?
Bud
Yeah,
Light.
making some ridiculous point.
I-
It's like, dude, you're pretty tone deaf on this subject, there, Joe Rogan.
It was quite funny because he brought a picture of Dylan up, and the guy, I can't remember his name, but he'd had to bit the honey.
The
Mad honey.
The mad honey, yeah.
Is that what does that?
And he went, and he just went, it's pretty fit. and Joe Rogan just like went, okay.
Well, he has to accept it. He has to. I don't know. The whole thing's insane.
It is
insane.
We live in a crazy world. I heard an
It's getting crazier. You guys are coming to America.
We are. Quickly, I'm going to do an advertisement for someone that doesn't need it. If anyone hasn't watched it yet, there is a podcast up on YouTube that's called Tim Pool's Culture Wars. I take it it's like a side thing to what's like the Timcast IRL. It's not Tim Pool that's interesting. He's got the like the skinny white dude, the blonde guy that does his like the shows with him. I quite like him, but he's also got Alex Jones on. And any podcast with Alex Jones on is worth a watch.
It's amazing. Yeah,
it's fucking phenomenal. It's really good, like really good. But yeah, he summarized it. The blonde guy that's always on Tim Pool's thing. He's that he feels there is the beginnings of this rumbling of common sense that's that's beginning to push back on this stuff. And Joe, I find really, really weird is that we've let like all the like the story hours go and the constant I'll say feminization of men. But when they came after J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, were like, fuck off our fucking wizards and Bud Light. No, not Bud Light. Of all the things that could have pissed people off, it's like, not Bud Light, not wizards. And I just think it's fucking hilarious.
they're still pushing. The UN is trying to push for to end any laws or restrictions on ages between consenting humans.
Wow,
That's
crazy.
Look after your children, people.
Yeah, exactly.
Look after your children.
It's a sick, sad world.
Watch watch what they're watching.
But as a summary, I think that's the key. Is
Anthony Weiner.
But it. Don't throw your kid in the corner with an iPad and think just because the app says kids on there, fine.
Yeah,
that's you need to keep an eye on the media that is coming in and out, because your parents didn't do it with you. It's either if you had good parents, they'd watch films before you'd watch them. I was allowed to watch stuff I shouldn't have watched when I was a kid, but I also knew the stuff I shouldn't watch.
Yeah.
My parents rented me Faces of Death.
That
explains a lot, right?
Yeah, it explains a lot.
Cool parents, man.
Yeah.
How old was you?
First time? I don't know, 7.
Oh, not so cool then.
But
That's a bit young for that.
So anyway, let's wrap this up before we go deeper and fucking
Anthony
go to the
Weiner
channel. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thanks to Stu, who has disappeared. As always, I've got such a terrible Ollie's monitoring page.
I don't know what to do with my monitor.
A good way to end this podcast is CO2 makes up 0.4% of the atmosphere. It's gone up from 0.3% of the atmosphere in the last 100 years. Little fact.
Bye.
Oh, I didn't even. Oh, fuck. That would have been a good way to end the show. Haven't ended the show yet because I
Still not
didn't
ended the
have.
show.
Midgets?
No, I didn't have the music fucking queued up. That would have
Dense
been.
midgets.
I'd have looked really cool then. Just
Dude,
dropping
you
that
just pulled
nugget.
such a Bud Light.
Oh,
Well, how about
absolutely. I Dylan'd it.
You Dylan it. Fraggle Trip.